befriended Zacchaeus. It was Jesus that went out to the helpless and the harassed. It was Jesus who healed the sick. It's Jesus who extended forgiveness to those who sought it. It's Jesus who showed compassion to those who were lost spiritually. That was the lifestyle of Jesus, one of compassion. You see, with Jesus, compassion wasn't one of those things that he did when people are watching. It was part of who he was, and it was part of his mission and what he came to complete. Jesus lived out this compassion in practical ways and made a difference in the lives of those people that he came in contact with. He showed compassion to the ones who needed it the most when they needed it the most. And in our text this morning here in Mark chapter 8, Mark says that once again, there is a great crowd. I want you to understand something about this crowd. In chapter 7, we are given a location. See, in verse 31 of chapter 7, Jesus comes to the Sea of Galilee through the midst and the coast of the Decapolis, the Gentile cities. Chapter 8, it's Jesus with a crowd. The location hasn't changed. And here's this group of people that have nothing to eat. The reason they have been following Jesus for 3 days, hanging on to every word. Have you thought about that? What would we be doing after 3 days? Would we still be there? Or we get our 30 minutes in and it's time to go home? But here was this group for 3 days. They're following Jesus. They're in a desolate place. There is nothing to eat. They're far from home. They're out of food. They're physically exhausted. And guess what? There's no plan B. Let me add something else. Because of location, these are all Gentiles. And Jesus directs this group to sit down. Based on our text, he brings 7 loaves. Let me remind you, 4,000 are mentioned, which is probably more. He gives thanks, he breaks it, he gives it to the disciples to set before the people. There's some fish, he brings fish and he blesses it and he sets it for the people. And we see that these people, this crowd, is blessed by being in the presence of Jesus and what Jesus did for them. But there's something else I want us to see this morning, is that this blessing that they experience is connected to the disciples' obedience. What if the disciples said, "No, I don't want to serve. I'm tired of, I've been with you also. We've been following, and I am tired." The disciples still had some issues with Gentiles. It's one thing to serve people that are like me. I'm hungry too. I'm tired too. I've been in the wilderness also. And you want me to serve them. And Jesus basically would say, yes. Here's the food. I want you to go and serve them. They experienced the blessings because of the disciples' obedience. I want us to understand this morning in this context. Because we find ourselves in the same scenario. Desolate place, hungry, tired, really no other plan to follow. But even in that, notice this, Jesus sees you in your desolate place. In those days, the multitude being very great, having nothing to eat, he calls his disciples to him. I have compassion on this multitude. They have been with me 3 days, nothing to eat. If I send them away to their own houses, they're going to faint. They're going to fall off to the side. For many of them have come from afar. They're out of food, they're out of strength, they're far away from home. And Jesus has compassion. He had compassion on their physical needs, their emotional needs, their practical needs. When we talk about compassion, it's that to be moved inwardly, to yearn for tender mercy, affection, pity. Empathy is connected. Empathy, you empathize, you hurt with them. Compassion, you want to do something for them. Someone said about compassion, it's sympathy coupled with a desire to help. That's Jesus. And in that desolate place, he sees. See, a desolate place could be anything for us. For some, a desolate place may be a marriage. For some others, that desolate place may be finances. That desolate place may be health or children. It's that desolate place is where many live spiritually and emotionally. And Mark wants us to see that Jesus does some of his clearest works when we are out of options and we are out of resources. Let me ask you this morning, can a church be found in a desolate place? Is Jesus the first person we look to? Or do we look to everything else? Jesus is looking on in those places. And it's not that we have to ask Jesus, are you paying attention? He sees it. He has compassion. He understands. I think sometimes Jesus wants us to acknowledge that he sees us. And in doing that, we begin to see something. It's not that Jesus begins to work. It's we refuse to see that Jesus sees. Because he has the very heart. It's one of compassion. You see, Jesus' compassion is personal. Have you noticed not once did we ever hear that Jesus says it's inconvenient? Have you noticed that we never read that Jesus was busy and that he would get back to it as soon as he could? There is no taking a number and waiting. How many of you love doing that? Take that number, just wait, we get to you. Becky and I had to replace our license. Our driver's license were going out, and we went to the tag agency this week. I am glad that I've kept my CDL. You know why? I got called on first before Becky got called on. And I had filled out on the kiosk after Becky filled it out. But because mine had a CDL, guess what? They called me back first. And I got mine, and I tried to be a very good husband, and I'm waiting with her, and then I got real thirsty, and I said, you know what? I'll take you up here. I'll do what you said. I'm going to go ahead and leave and go to the office, and I'm going to. But while I go get me a drink, would you like a drink also? And so, yeah, there was not, because when she got to the office, there was a nice, big, iced Coke Zero waiting for her. But it's frustrating when you have to wait. You get that number. You remember the old one, the paper? You'd pull it out, the odd shape, and you're looking up and you're waiting. I hope my number comes up. We don't like that. I don't know about you, but I am glad that Jesus isn't based on numbers and a waiting system. His compassion is personal. His heart reacts to human need. Not only is it personal, it's thoughtful. What did he tell his disciples? If I send them home, what's going to happen? They're going to faint. Some of them have come long ways. He was thinking ahead for people, even though they may not have thought for themselves. Understand, folks, that Jesus, in his compassion, he cares for the journey that we're on. We're all on a journey. Jesus' compassion also is physical and practical. He said, man, they've listened to sermons for 3 whole days. Do you notice that Jesus didn't say, well, they have my teachings, that's enough? Well, if they would have prayed more, if they had more faith, then that would be enough. But no, in that moment, Jesus wants to feed their bodies as well as their souls. In that moment that we see that he cared about empty stomachs as well as empty hearts. Why? Because that was his heart. Listen, if something matters enough to make you faint on the way, it matters enough for Jesus to notice. You're not alone. Jesus, in his compassion, he sees you in your desolate place. But notice something else this morning, that Jesus uses the little that you have. Jesus, we need to feed them. We need to do something about it. And his disciples answered in verse 4, from whence can a man satisfy these men with bread here in the wilderness? And Jesus asks them. I love how Jesus teaches. Jesus is great about using objects. That's why I love when Tommy and I go to Kids for Christ. I love using balloons because you can do all kinds of stuff and their attention span. I love using the illusions to tell gospel messages. Why? Because the eyes are glued. Jesus used objects, but Jesus also taught using questions. And the thing is, Jesus wasn't asking a question so that he could get an answer. Jesus already knows the answer. But he asked the question so that he can teach. How many loaves do you? He knew that there were 7 loaves. And they said 7. He commanded the people to sit down on the ground. He took the loaves. He gave thanks. He broke it apart. He gave it to the disciples. He said, now I want you to serve them. It says there's a few small fish, and he blessed it, he commanded, he prayed, he gave it to them to serve them. Many times we're just like the disciples, though. We focus on the problem instead of the problem solver. Oh, we just have these 7 loaves. We have just a few Small fish. We can't do nothing. We're just a small group of people. Our offerings aren't much. Our savings is dwindling. How often do we find ourselves just like the disciples? This is a problem. I don't know about you, I'd be freaking out if there was 4,000 people that I had to try to feed. At least you can say, at least we're not 4,000 people trying to feed them. But this was the heart of the disciples. How can we do that? We only have this. Listen, at the same time, the disciples are Jew. These are most likely Gentiles. That's one of the differences that we see here in Mark chapter 8, and then Mark chapter 6. Some ask, well, what's the difference? Well, there's a totally different people. It's one thing serving people just like me. If I'm a Jew, I'll go serve a Jew. We're on the same level. But as a Jew, I got to go serve a Gentile? See, I don't think it was the disciples forgetting what Jesus did. That could be the possibility, but it was, we're having to serve, you're setting the Gentiles down, and you're making us. We have to trust you that you will provide, but why do we have to serve them? They measured the need, but forgot the one who was with them. How often do we measure the need and forget the one who's provided? How many loaves do you have? We have 7. We have a few fish. Obviously, that's not enough to serve 4,000 plus. Folks, the miracle begins when they place the loaves, they place the fish in the hands of Jesus. He takes it. He gives thanks. He breaks it and keeps giving it to the disciples to distribute. They go serve. They come back to Jesus. He gives them more. They go serve. He comes back. They give them more. They go serve. Well, they come back. He gives them some more, and they go serve. And everybody is satisfied. That's what Jesus does. It's not about the problem. It's the one who solves the problem. Folks, listen, Jesus rarely starts with what you lack. He starts with what you already have. For some, it may be limited time. For some, it may be limited money or skills or even a weak faith. Whatever is surrendered to Him, He takes it and He uses it to satisfy. Whatever you have, you're willing to surrender. He uses what little you have. Folks, church family, what little we have, when we surrender to the Lord, guess what? He takes it and He uses it for His kingdom. And it's satisfied. See, I think we can find ourselves at a crossroads this morning. We can say, yeah, I get what you're saying. I understand that Jesus is like that, but you know what? I still want to hold on. I'm going to hold on. I'm going to still keep my vision on the problem. You do that, we do that, you know what? We miss Jesus doing some of his greatest work. See, Jesus did not ask what they do not have. He asked, what do you have? What do you have? 7 loaves, a few small fish, insufficient for 4,000 people. Yet what did Jesus say? Well, maybe next time. No, he says, bring it to me. Bring it to me. Jesus already knows in their mind, they're thinking, this is crazy. Just bring it to me. What are we willing to bring to Jesus? Is it as insufficient as 7 loaves of bread and a few small fish? We try to hold everything in our pockets so that we can just continue on. Folks, here's the key. The disciples had to trust Jesus. Bring it to me. You are out of your mind. Do you think any of them would ever have thought to say that? Probably not. But in bringing it to Jesus, guess what? They had to trust Jesus. Either you trust Jesus or you don't. Listen, folks, there is no in-between trusting Jesus. Either we trust Jesus or we don't. As individuals, do we trust Jesus with the things that he has entrusted to us? As a church, do we trust Jesus or do we look at the impossibilities and say, it's not going to work? Either we trust Jesus or we don't. Listen, that is obedience. Jesus, have you noticed, is the master of making things stretch. I've heard some testimonies in the past, and maybe some of them may be of yours, but you can never outgive God. You give God, and what happens? It's not a health wealth. God takes care of you. You obey me, I'll bless you. You trust me, I will take care of you. We give to Jesus, and it may look like he just stretches it. I mean, 7 loaves and a few fish. We try to stretch things, don't we? Why do you put milk in eggs? Anybody ever do that? What's the point of putting milk in eggs that you're going to scramble? Main part, it stretches it. We try things like that to stretch. Folks, Jesus is the master of stretching things. It doesn't run out. It just keeps on going. Oh, you want more? Come back to me. You do what I ask you to do. Go serve. Come back. I'll give you some more. And I'll give you some more. And I'll give you some more. Notice that Jesus takes the bread, takes the fish, and he gives thanks. Here's a very important principle. Gratitude comes before abundance. In your individual life, gratitude and thanks to God comes before abundance. In a church life, gratitude for what God does comes before abundance. He gave thanks, but guess what? He used his disciples as partners in kingdom work. He could have Jesus could have done anything. He's God. He could have rained down bread from heaven. Have the movie, the book that came out, was it Raining with a Chance, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs? And the whole thing, food's just raining from the, and there's the meatballs and the, spaghetti over here and just different things. Jesus could have done that. But Jesus chose to use his disciples. I want to use you in this kingdom work. I want to teach you a lesson. I want to teach them a lesson that all blessings come from me. See, Jesus often begins his work in what we already have in our hands when it looks embarrassingly small. We see that in Exodus, don't we? How many times does God say, "What's in your hand? What's in your hand? What's in your hand?" You see, it may be limited time. It may be simple skill. It may be small income. The question is not, is it enough for the crowd? The question is, will I put it in Jesus' hands? See, when we hold on to it, it's not enough. But isn't it amazing when we surrender, it becomes more than enough? Here's the other thing. Jesus satisfies more than we can even imagine. They ate and were satisfied. And there were 7 baskets left over. There was more at the end than there was at the beginning. We started with 7 loaves and a few small fish. And at the end there are 7 baskets full. And nothing, folks, nothing is wasted. There was no turning away. There was no lacking. Jesus provides, folks, more than we can even imagine. The question this morning is this: how much do we trust him? How much do we trust him? See, when we bring our emptiness to Christ, the things that we may think are lacking, the little insufficient things, folks, he doesn't just barely help. He truly satisfies. And he leaves us with more faith and peace and joy than what we had before. That's how Jesus works. Jesus said in John chapter 10 and verse 10, "The thief cometh but to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life." Period. No. And that they might have it more abundantly. The question is, what are you willing to give to Jesus? What are you willing to bring to him? What are you willing to put in his hand?